안내를 시작하겠습니다.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
3 minutes after 9 on Monday, January the 19th. All eyes on Downing Street as we wait for the Prime Minister. Probably speaking in about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit over. Expected to be what the reaction should be to President Trump's increasingly aggressive tactics of guns concerning Greenland. This follows reportedly crisis calls between the British Prime Minister, leaders of other European nations as well. We'll see what that leads to. Also, we won't just have that. We will, of course, cover other stories on the news agenda and taking place in court today, as I said earlier. What links characters such as Elton John, Prince Harry, Liz Hurley, and the mother of Stephen Lawrence, the young man who was a victim of a racial murder down in southeast London. Well, this media law consultant will explain.
Prince Harry has been suing the tabloids for the last 7 years. His biggest claim starts today in the High Court. I'm Ian Bloom, media law consultant. I'll be previewing this case with Nick later.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
As I said just a few moments ago, all eyes then on Downing Street, where we're heading for the Prime Minister to speak in around 10 minutes' time. This is obviously a response to events in and around Greenland. And I've had a quick look at some of the newspaper leader columns or opinion columns, whatever.
잠시 후 우회전입니다.
Certainly the Daily Telegraph, the Daily Mail, the Sun are saying the Prime Minister should take a strong line. Daily Telegraph even saying at some point you have to stand up to a bully, and in the paper's view, this is that time. Let's get Aggie Chomray, LBC's Deputy Political Editor, into the conversation. Aggie's in the studio with me. Do we get any sense of what we might hear?
We have got a sense of what we might hear,
우회전입니다.
not least because we've heard from the Prime Minister a couple of times over the weekend, and he has gone actually further than he's ever gone with Donald Trump before in terms of criticising him, at least since he's been Prime Minister. And he has said the idea that the US would slap tariffs 10% at first on countries that don't agree with him over Denmark, of course that includes us, which would go up to 25% by 1st of June, is completely wrong. He's also said that directly to Donald Trump. So I think we can very much expect him to
오른쪽
reiterate
도로입니다.
that today.
이어서 오른쪽에 고속도로 출구입니다.
He will set out the UK's approach to working with its allies.
오른쪽에 고속도로 출구입니다.
How it will be led by our values. But this is very much an emergency press conference. He was supposed to be doing a speech in Yorkshire actually on the cost of living, but because of these escalating threats from Donald Trump, this instead will now take place in Downing Street, number 9 Downing Street. I think he will reiterate what he said over the weekend. I don't think we will have his Hugh Grant Love Actually moment where he stands up and criticises Donald Trump. He will criticise what Donald Trump is saying over Greenland. But I think so far we've seen him having this approach with Donald Trump where he's very much tried to toe the line, actually being pretty close to Donald Trump, and talked about how he has felt that has given the UK rewards both in Ukraine and also in trade deals. But I think he now feels that he needs to call out this, indeed because he's also spoken to other countries and had calls with them, and they also have actually gone a little bit further than him but want to critique it. But I've had conversations with people in government, with Western security officials who basically have said how concerned they are about this, and said actually similar to what Jeremy Hunt has said on the record, but they think if Donald Trump and the US were to invade Greenland, that would be the end of NATO. They cannot see countries then fighting the US in Greenland, and effectively
오른쪽
the
도로입니다.
entire
이어서 오른쪽에 고속도로 출구입니다.
extraordinary thing to happen. And in terms of what else we'll hear from
오른쪽에 고속도로 출구입니다.
5-10 minutes or so. We also heard from the Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy
우회전입니다.
yesterday, and she said the government had made it clear the future of Greenland was for them and Denmark did as well.
Tariffs would be a terrible thing, not just for the UK economy, but for the US economy as well. The reason that this situation has come about is because there is a serious challenge to UK security, US security and European security over in the Arctic region. That is not best solved by us dividing from one another or imposing tariffs on one another.
왼쪽 도로입니다.
Yes, Aggie, we're going to be speaking to someone in Greenland in a moment. Malika Dolan-Scheibel, who was part of the demonstrations just before we crossed to Greenland. Let me ask you, you get the sense, Aggie, that some European leaders, such as Meloni in Italy, Macron in France, they sort of look to Sir Keir Starmer as the bridge between Europe and the United States. Obviously, the fact they speak the same language, and Sir Keir does seem to have at least perfected a fairly
continue to be the bridge. While he's having one step into criticising Donald Trump's actions and one step into, and I think we will see this, not criticising Donald Trump and very much trying to stay on the side with him. Whether or not he's able to remain the bridge, probably, but let's see.
If you stay in the studio with me, if you would, Aggie Chambray, OBC's Deputy Political Editor, reporting, because we can go to Greenland now, bring to the conversation Malik Shaibu, who is a Greenlander. Thank you very much for coming on, sir. You're wearing a baseball cap, and it says NU, new word, DET, NU, UK. I hope this isn't something I'm going to regret ever asking for. What does because that could be the end of quite a long broadcasting career. But Malik, if I may ask you, if I may call you that, can I ask, what is the slogan on your baseball cap, sir?
Well, it says Nudanuk, and it's a funny way to say now is enough, because in Danish it sounds like the two words.
Okay.
So,
okay, now is it so? Tell me the feeling, yes, on the weekend, and I understand you took part in the demonstration, Malik.
so well, the feeling was quite extraordinary, being one of the many thousands that demonstrated, both in multiple cities in Greenland, but also multiple cities in Denmark, to show that Greenland is not for sale and has never been. And it should be a big saying that there were so many thousands of people going out in the streets and saying that. And,
왼쪽 도로입니다.
so
이어서
it was
직진입니다.
quite extraordinary and quite a great feeling to see how
직진입니다.
patriotic and sound alike people were.
How many people do you think took part in the demonstration, Malik?
Well, the numbers have been up to around 4,000, but I believe there has been more than 4,000 people. And since we are a city of 20,000, that means that around a quarter of the city were out in the streets.
What are your main concerns, you and the demonstrators, what are their main concerns?
Trump's threats have just kept us being very scared for the last few days, and has actually, I would say, has actually impacted our daily lives with being sleep deprived and having nausea and just being so scared that people actually have paranoia of what could happen, and also the many political views from the different parts of the world saying this, saying that, and then we're just trying to say we just want peace. We want to live our lives without being scared of being somewhat invaded or trying to be born.
Malik, for other Greenlanders, do you look to the British Prime Minister because of the relationship between the two countries? Do you look to NATO? Do you look to the European Union? Which is the key body or key person who can help and assist you most, would you say?
That's a big ask, because right now we're just hoping that the European countries will come together and try to push back on Trump's rhetoric, because that's probably the biggest way to stop his trying of getting Greenland. But it's a hard thing to say, because Trump, he is a big guy and he has a big power at the moment.
He has a big power. Of course, he has bases already in your country. He has military bases. Are people warm towards the US military personnel? Does everyone get on? Is there now a degree of hostility or a degree of anger towards the US military who are in your country?
Well, we have one military base up at the northern part of Greenland, and that's the only American base. Then they have some military personnel in the bases that we already have, but there has not been so many American soldiers around. So,
yeah. And when it comes to President Trump's ambitions, lastly, Malik, he talks about how strategic
오른쪽 도로입니다.
how significant
이어서
because
우회전입니다.
where you are geographically, and he talks about the threat of Russia, even the threat of China coming in and investing or whatever. When you speak with fellow
우회전입니다.
Greenlanders, are you concerned about that? Are you aware of your strategic significance? How would you respond to that, which would be one of Trump's main claims?
well, we understand we are a big strategic place, yeah, but we have not seen Russian or Chinese ships up here, so that part he is somewhat lying about. There could be threats that we are willing to help. They have every right to put more military bases. They had at one point 18 bases with 20,000 soldiers. Now they have one with 115 soldiers. So that just shows that they also went back and Denmark for their military presence up here, which they still have. They have multiple ships, they have acquired planes for surveillance, and they have more than 2 dog sleds in northeastern part of Greenland that does some sovereignty defense.
Yes.
So they have more military presence than people actually might think.
All right. Malik, are you intending to watch the British Prime Minister's or listen to the British Prime Minister's speech now, or are you busy now?
Well, I'm going to school in half an hour, so...
Okay. I was going to say we'll call you back to see what you make. Well, let's see what the timing is. I don't want to keep you away from school or college. So, Malik, thank you. We might talk to you again. If you're on your way to your studies, I fully understand. So let me thank you in case. We'd love
왼쪽
to hear from you what you
도로입니다.
make with Malik
이어서
Donald
좌회전입니다.
Shuttle, who is a Greenlander who was part of that demonstration. Right, we might talk to him definitely. You're
좌회전입니다.
definitely hearing from the Prime Minister. We'll try and fit in a news break ahead of it, but don't worry. If we go to Downing Street, you will not listen to it. 9:15, let's try the LBC News headlines then. Dominic Ellis.
The Prime Minister will speak from Downing Street shortly on the growing tensions over Greenland. 2 high-speed trains have crashed in southern Spain, killing at least 39 people. And legal action by Prince Harry and several other high-profile figures against the Daily Mail's publisher is set to start at the High
목적지
Court.
부근입니다.
LBC
안내를 종료합니다.
with outbreaks of rain for many, drier for central and south-eastern areas, a high of 11 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb in Wandsworth. The A3 is closed in both directions. It's